Okay guys, it's time for Try 5 Episode 2. Hello everyone, my name is Josiah. Thank you for coming to my channel today. And recently, or maybe not so recently, I announced that I was going to start a new video series that I'm calling Try 5. In Try 5, I'm going to be focusing on actors, directors, genres, and more, and picking 5 movies that I think you guys should check out according to the topic of the day. And for this episode, I'm going to be talking about A24 films. You know, I got my A24 shirt on today. It's probably one of my favorite shirts that I have right now. But for those of you who don't know, A24 is a distribution studio, and they really release a lot of these like art house films. You know, these are films that you would typically see at film festivals as opposed to wide theatrical releases. And you know, I've really grown to love the movies that come out of this studio. The movies that I've seen from A24 tend to be very like experimental. They're very, very unique. And a lot of them end up becoming some of my favorite movies of all time. So for this video, I wanted to pick 5 A24 films that I strongly recommend that you guys check out. So starting at number 5, we're going to go with The Florida Project. So this movie takes place in Florida, right outside of the Disney resort, and it focuses on a young mother and her daughter. I believe the mother's name is Haley and the daughter's name is Moon. If I remember correctly, it's been kind of a minute. But they live in this motel, and it almost comes off like a documentary. You know, it's just how their way of life and the way that they just try to survive and to make ends meet. Willem Dafoe plays the manager of this motel, and even though he's not really supposed to let people stay there for extended periods of time, he still kind of finds a loophole for these people because he knows that they don't really have anywhere else to go. And even though sometimes he really has to be like the manager and crack down on them and give them warnings, he really does care for them and really does his best to look out for them. I thought that this was a wonderful movie. Most of it takes place from Moon's point of view, and you know, kind of that child perspective of life. You know, not really understanding the situation that they're in. It's just how things are, and she still manages to just go about her day, hanging out with her friends, and you know, she really does dream of going on the other side of the resort, where it seems like, you know, anything can happen and people always seem so happy over there. And I think this movie really did make me appreciate more like the things that I do have, you know, really opening up my eyes to the fact that there are people who do live like in motels or other places in real life. And so it really made me, like I said, appreciate the things that I do have and really make me think more about helping others and how could I help others in situations like that. Number 4, we're going with The Green Knight. This is one of the more recent A24 films I've watched. I saw it with my sister, and I thought it was great. I mean, I didn't really fully understand everything that was going on. I feel like a lot of the story elements and the things that happen in the movie are told in a very abstract kind of way. I think with a couple more rewatches, I'll probably be able to fully solidify how I feel about the movie. But from a artistic perspective, or like a cinematography perspective, I thought the movie was phenomenal. I mean, it was very beautiful. There was a lot of cool images in the film, and I think there's a lot. The film has a lot to say about what makes a person courageous, or how we can become courageous. Dev Patel plays Sir Gawain, who is the nephew of King Arthur. I think this movie was based off of a short story or a poem. I wasn't familiar with it going into it, but he challenges the mystical Dark Knight, and the movie really tells a story about how he prepares and how he sets out on this journey to confront the Dark Knight, the Green Knight. And like I said, it was a very unique film. I was very glad that I was able to see this in theaters. And I really think that you guys should check it out and let me know what you think about the film. Number 3, we have The Last Black Man in San Francisco. So this movie is based on the true life story of Jimmy Fails. That's this young man right here on the cover. And it really tells a story about how he tries to reclaim his childhood home. This movie deals a lot with like the gentrification of San Francisco, and it really comes off almost like a documentary in a sense. It doesn't really feel like you're watching a movie. It just feels like you're seeing how people in San Francisco are just navigating life. I mean, like I said, he's desperately trying to reclaim his childhood home, even though he knows that he doesn't have the money to pay for it. And it really kind of shows how he relates to other people in his community who are also feeling the same way. I mean, I know gentrification is kind of like a bigger thing these days, and how the people that have lived there, maybe they're a couple generations in one location, or they just happen to grow up there, and how they slowly kind of get pushed out as gentrification moves in. And sometimes it's not really an easy thing to see. I think that's something we all can relate to. We all have a childhood home or location or place that we hold near and dear to us, and it's not always easy to see that kind of go away. I mean, I know personally within the last couple of years, I've taken a couple of drive-throughs, my old neighborhood, and seeing my childhood house, or the house where I spent many years of my childhood, and kind of seeing the rundown state that it's currently in. It wasn't easy to see. So that's one of the ways I really, really related to this film, and I think there was a lot of great performances and a lot of emotion in this film. And I really think that it's very underrated, and that more people should go and watch this movie. All right, coming down to the last two, it's kind of hard because I really like both of them, but for number 2, I'm going with The Lobster. Now this movie, I don't even really know what to say. It's very unique. I think the premise alone is really what drew me to this movie. But Colin Farrell plays this man who lives in this dystopian society or city where every person who is single has to check into this facility or this hotel, and you only have X amount of days to find a partner, or else you'll be turned into an animal of your choice and released into the wild. Colin Farrell says that if he doesn't make it in time, if he doesn't find a partner in time, he would like to be turned into a lobster, which is, of course, the title of the film. And, I think that this is a very interesting love movie. I haven't seen a movie like this before, because I think it really does have a lot to say about how we go about choosing a partner for life. Many of us do feel pressure to find someone, whether that's because of age or family, or just peer pressure to make that next step and to hurry up and to find a partner, or to find to start a family. But kind of taking those pressures and applying it to the impending doom of turning into an animal, I think was really unique. I mean, I don't think anybody wants to be turned into an animal. And, that's one of the questions I kind of had walking away from the film that they never really answered was, when you turn into an animal, do you completely lose all of your human memories and your human consciousness? Or are you still in there somewhere, but you're just in an animal form? So that was really fun to think about. In the movie, Colin Farrell has a dog that he takes care of, and you find out that the dog was his brother who just didn't make it. So I thought that was a very interesting concept that I haven't fully wrapped my mind around. I mean, not to look into it too deeply, but I kind of wondered, does the type of animal that a person chooses say anything about them as a person, or what are the pros and cons to picking one animal over the other? I mean, this type of movie really did open up a plethora of possible conversations that you could have with a person just based around that premise. And again, I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. It was very interesting and unique, and that's why I think everybody should go and check it out. But here we are, and my number one pick for this episode, and that is Swiss Army Man. Now, I first heard about Swiss Army Man, I think I randomly came across the trailer on YouTube or something at one point, and I always wanted to watch it, but it wasn't until one day I was scrolling through Netflix and I saw that it was on there, and I stopped what I was doing and I decided to watch it. And it wasn't even like 10 minutes into this film before I decided I already loved it. It tells the story of Hank, played by Paul Dano, who is lost. He's lost on an island. He's just lost in the wilderness, and he can't seem to find his way home. And really, before he gives up and calls it quits, this dead body washes up on shore, and he finds out that this dead body isn't entirely dead. This dead body, played by Daniel Radcliffe, who he calls Manny, can do things. I mean, he can pretty much do anything that you need him to do, kind of like a Swiss Army tool. And over the course of the journey, Hank realizes that Manny is the key to getting home. Over the course of their journey, they learn so much about life and friendship and how it's just okay to be yourself. I think all of these things were addressed in a very abstract kind of way, and that's what was so special and unique about it. I think the best example was this scene where they're just having a discussion, and Manny asks Hank why he never farts in front of him, and he's like, we're friends, but you're too shy to fart in front of me. Like, what's that about? And he was just saying, because people don't like when you do things like that. People will think you're weird and won't want to be around you, won't want to be your friend. And Manny just kind of has this moment where he's just like, then why are we even trying to get back home? I mean, it sounds like a really terrible place to live if you can't just be yourself, or to be different, or be unique, because everybody will think you're weird and won't want to be around you. And he was like, that really sounds like a very miserable life, as opposed to the life we're living out here, being free to be ourselves and to do whatever we want. And I never really thought about things like that, but it's just the interesting way that they presented these ideas that made me look at it differently. I think Paul Dano and Daniel Radcliffe have wonderful chemistry together. I think the performances are great. I mean, most of the time, Daniel Radcliffe is just being carried around by Paul Dano, and he's trying to act like he's starting to come alive, and making these facial expressions as he's trying to smile and to express emotions. And I just thought it was phenomenal. I think it's very underrated. There was even this wonderful original soundtrack that I absolutely loved. And I even got a poster on my wall. I know you can't see it. It's down here, but I'll throw a picture of it in this video so you guys can see what it looked like. But that concludes this episode of Try 5. Hopefully you guys are able to check out all of these films. Let me know what you think, and what are some of your favorite A24 films. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time.